Book Summary. Here One Moment by Liane Moriarty. Introduction. Premonition in the Sky. In Here One Moment, Liane Moriarty once again weaves an irresistibly compelling narrative that blends psychological insight, dark humor, and emotional resonance. Following in the footsteps of her global bestsellers like Big Little Lies and Apples Never Fall, Moriarty's latest novel begins with strange event on flight. Surreal moment that reverberates through the lives of a group of strangers. The central question is deceptively simple. What would you do if you knew the moment and method of your death? This premise becomes the launching point for nuanced exploration of mortality, grief, relationships, and the fragile certainties of modern life. Act 1. The Flight That Changes Everything. Allegra Patel, poised and capable flight attendant, is having anything but celebratory birthday. As her plane from Hobart to Sydney experiences delays and irritated passengers, she quietly reflects on her life. Allegra is approaching 30. Her love life is blank slate since the disappearance of her fiancé Oliver, and her job, though fulfilling, sometimes feels like it's going nowhere. As Allegra moves through cabin, we're introduced to vivid cast of characters, all passengers on the flight. Gavin Sloan, corporate lawyer worried about missing his daughter's school musical. Felicity Watts, single mother battling exhaustion and judgment as she manages baby and toddler. Lena and Marco, honeymooners glowing with fresh hope. Darlene Pritchard, talkative nurse, bursting with stories and energy, looking forward to retirement. And then there's Rona Day, quiet, elegant. Traveling alone, halfway through the flight, Rona calmly stands and begins walking down the aisle. In composed, almost reverent tone, she starts delivering prophecies, stating the age and manner of death of each passenger she encounters. Some laugh her off, some are terrified, others take comfort. To Allegra, Rona merely pauses and says, "You already know." When the flight lands, airport security takes Rona away for psychiatric evaluation, and the bizarre event seems like something to be forgotten, until one of the predictions comes true. Act 2, the first death, and the fallout. Months later, Darlene Pritchard dies exactly as Rona said she would, choking on steak at her retirement party. The specificity of the prediction sends ripple of shock through those who had been on the flight. Some reconnect, others retreat. Allegra, who has never quite shaken the moment, becomes obsessed with Rona and the nature of her apparent foresight. Each passenger reacts differently to the knowledge that one prediction has already come to pass. Gavin is told he'll die of heart failure at 46. This compels him to reevaluate his high-stress lifestyle and his strained relationship with his teenage daughter. He starts exercising, eating better, and reevaluating his ethics at work, where he's been defending corrupt pharmaceutical company. Felicity, told she'll live to 91, feels oddly empowered. First time in years, she begins to dream again, returning to her studies, dating, and even starting blog about single motherhood. Yet she is haunted by her child's nightmares, in which the plain lady is always present. Lena, who is predicted to die at 38 in house fire, spirals into fear. She becomes obsessed with fire safety, refuses to light candles, installs multiple extinguishers, and stops using the stove. Her new marriage begins to strain under the pressure of her anxiety. Allegra, meanwhile, begins to investigate Rona Day. She tracks down other passengers, confirms additional predictions, and finds patterns she can't ignore. Allegra is not just driven by curiosity. Rona's words, "You already know," have stuck with her like thorn. Could she have met Oliver? Is Allegra's own fate sealed in ways she hasn't yet accepted? Act 3, Past Shadows and Present Echoes. As Allegra delves deeper, she is forced to confront unresolved trauma. Oliver, her former fiancé, vanished 3 years earlier during weekend hike. The mystery of his disappearance has shadowed her every decision. Allegra never truly grieved because there was never confirmation of his death. In her search for Rona, Allegra uncovers the woman's true identity. Rona Day, former grief therapist and best-selling author. Decade earlier, she lost her son Jamie in tragic car accident. In the aftermath, Rona vanished from public life after controversial interviews where she claimed that death often whispers before it knocks. Eventually, Allegra finds Rona in Tasmania, living under pseudonym and running small bookshop. Their meeting is laced with tension and compassion. Rona explains that she never meant for her predictions to change lives. They came to her not as visions, but as patterns, subtle cues from faces, movements, voices. Years of counseling the bereaved taught her too. Since when death near, she adds, the predictions weren't meant to scare, they were meant to wake. Act 4, the domino effect. Back in Sydney, Allegra's list of passengers and predictions keeps growing and coming harder to ignore. 2 more predictions come true. Man told he'd die at 59 of cancer is diagnosed and passes swiftly. Teenager told she'd be in fatal car crash succumbs after taking her brother's car for joyride. Not all predictions are accurate, though. Woman who was supposed to die young survives freak accident. Man expected. Die at 70 dies at 42. These deviations throw Allegra into further turmoil. Are the predictions fate, coincidence, or self-fulfilling prophecies? Allegra also reconnects with her estranged mother, brilliant but mentally unstable former singer who lives in care facility. Her mother, unusually lucid during their visit, reflects on the way the world tries to predict outcomes. Doctors, psychics, weather forecasters. It's all game of odds. But the real question is, what would you do if you thought you had more time? These words anchor Allegra. Act 5, the final unraveling. In bittersweet twist, Allegra receives phone call. Oliver's remains have been found. Hiker discovered backpack containing his ID, camera, and journal. The cause of death was fall from cliff. His final journal entries reveal fight with Allegra, deep remorse, and his intent to propose properly on her birthday. His last note reads, "If you're reading this, it means you didn't give up on me. Thank you for loving me enough to wait." Revelation devastates Allegra, but also frees her. She no longer needs answers. She knows the truth. Allegra visits Rowena one last time. Rowena, now terminally ill, confesses that she didn't predict her own death. Maybe that's the joke, she says. You can't read your own story while you're still inside it. Their goodbye is tender. Rowena gifts Allegra her scrapbook of passengers and predictions. Allegra decides to close it for good. Epilogue, letting go. The novel ends 1 year after Rowena's death. Allegra, now working as ground instructor for flight attendants, teaches session about crisis management. She tells her trainees, "It's not your job to predict what's coming. It's your job to care when it does." She no longer obsesses about death. Instead, she volunteers at hospice, writes letters to the families of the passengers she met, and starts dating paramedic named Sean who wants help. Unruly passenger off flight. The final scene mirrors the first. Allegra boards plane. This time she's not working. She sits in window seat, book in her lap, her hair graying at the edges, and watches the clouds pass by. When little girl in the next seat asks, "Are you scared of flying?" Allegra smiles and says, "No, not anymore." Themes and analysis. 1. Mortality and fate. Moriarty confronts our universal fear of death through an eerie but emotionally grounded narrative. Rowena's predictions serve as metaphor for our desire to control the uncontrollable. The novel asks, would knowledge of death help us live better, or trap us in fear? 2. Grief and acceptance. Allegra's journey is studying grief, the kind that's suspended by uncertainty. With Oliver's disappearance, she couldn't mourn or move on. Rowena, too, is trapped by her son's death, and both women must confront painful truths before they can heal. 3. Connection and disconnection. Strangers are thrown together by fate, connected by one strange event. Moriarty explores how brief encounters can shape us profoundly. Passengers, initially indifferent, become threads in one another's lives, offering support, reflection, and even love. 4. The role of women. The novel centers primarily on female narratives. Allegra, Rowena, Felicity, Lena, all navigating complex roles as daughters, mothers, partners, and professionals. Each woman carries private burdens that speak to resilience, identity, and choice. 5. The fragility of certainty. Central message in Here One Moment is that certainty is an illusion. Life is unpredictable, and even the most precise plans or visions can be upended by one moment. Instead of fearing that, the novel encourages embracing it. Final thoughts. Here One Moment is beautifully written, emotionally intelligent, and thought-provoking novel that resonate with anyone who has ever asked, what if Liane Moriarty's genius lies in her ability to take the ordinary, an airline delay, birthday moment of discomfort, and build it into something extraordinary? As readers, we are left with an aching reminder. Life can change in blink and sentence in single heartbeat, but it is in the unpredictability, the here and now, where meaning resides.